My dear listeners, this is an original sci-fi story I wrote for you. If you'd like to support me, just subscribe to the channel, it really helps the growth. Lieutenant Cara Damon stood at the edge of the restricted zone and stared at the crashed transport half a kilometer away. Smoke still rose from its broken hull, dark against the red dirt of Talos 4. 60 creche cubs were inside, ages 4 to 11. The emergency beacon had broadcast for 3 hours before anyone could respond. The problem was the minefield. Legacy ordnance from the Separation War, Colonel Thrace said, his creche mandibles clicking with agitation. 12 years old, pressure-sensitive anti-personnel mines scattered across this entire valley. We've lost 2 recovery teams already. Cara watched through binoculars as small shapes moved inside the wreckage. The cubs were alive. Scared but alive. Your teams were creche? Yes. Adult males, standard recovery gear. The mines are rated for anything over 90 kilograms. Both teams triggered multiple explosives. Cara did the math. Adult creche averaged 150 kilograms. The cubs would be lighter, maybe 40 to 70 kilos depending on age. Still enough to trigger the mines if they tried to walk out. I'm 62 kilos, Cara said quietly. 58 without gear. Thrace's eyes swiveled to her. Lieutenant, you can't be suggesting. I'm light enough to walk the field without triggering pressure plates. And small enough to carry the cubs one at a time. One at a time? There are 60 of them. Then I make 60 trips. Another creche officer, Major Velen, stepped forward. The mines are scattered randomly. There's no safe path. You'd be navigating blind, gambling with every step. Better than leaving kids to die in a crashed ship. Lieutenant Damon, I appreciate the sentiment, but this is suicide. Even if you make the first trip successfully, fatigue will compromise your judgment. One mistake is one mistake I'll have to avoid making. Cara started stripping off her tactical vest. How long before that ship's reactor goes critical? Silence. Then Thrace said quietly, 16 hours. Maybe 20 if they're lucky. Then we don't have time to debate. I'm going in. The first 50 meters were the worst. Every step was a calculation. Watch for disturbed soil, discoloration, anything that might indicate buried ordnance. Cara moved like she was walking on glass, each footfall deliberate, careful. The mine detection equipment was useless. These were old models, minimal metal content, designed to avoid scanners. She was navigating by experience, instinct, and prayer. 20 minutes to cross 200 meters. Her legs were shaking by the time she reached the wreckage. The cubs huddled in the cargo section, their chitinous armor scraped and cracked. The youngest ones were crying, high-pitched keening that made Cara's chest hurt. Hey, sweethearts. I'm Lieutenant Damon. I'm here to get you out. The oldest cub, maybe 10 years old, stepped forward. His name tag read Threx. The others tried to reach us. We heard the explosions. I know, but I'm lighter. I can make it. She knelt down, assessing the youngest. Who wants to go first? A tiny cub, couldn't be more than 4, raised her claw. Me. I want my mother. What's your name? Kessa. Okay, Kessa. I'm gonna carry you on my back. Hold on tight, stay very still, and don't make any sudden movements. Can you do that? Kessa nodded, her whole body trembling. Cara lifted her carefully. The cub weighed maybe 40 kilos. Combined with Cara's 58, they were pushing the safety threshold. Every step would be a gamble. The trip back took 35 minutes. Cara's legs screamed by the end. She handed Kessa to the waiting medics and immediately turned back toward the wreckage. Lieutenant, you need to rest. No time. By the 5th trip, Cara's body was failing. Her thighs burned. Her feet were blistered inside her boots. She'd stepped within inches of 2 mines, close enough to see the slight discoloration in the soil. The 10th trip, she made a mistake. A creche cub named Vex, 7 years old, heavier than the others, shifted his weight wrong. Cara compensated, stepped left instead of right. Her boot came down on disturbed soil. She saw the pressure plate depress. Cara threw Vex as hard as she could, sending him tumbling 5 meters toward safe ground. The mine detonated where she'd been standing a half second ago. The blast wave picked her up and slammed her down. Pain exploded through her right leg. When the smoke cleared, Kara's foot was gone from the ankle down. Blood soaked the red dirt darker. Vex was safe. The throw had gotten him clear. "Lieutenant!" The medics were screaming, but they couldn't reach her. She was still in the minefield. Kara tied her belt around the stump, tightened it until the bleeding slowed. Then she started crawling. If she stayed low, distributed her weight, 20 minutes of agony. Every movement sent fresh waves of pain through her body. But she made it to the perimeter. The medics swarmed her. "You need immediate evac." "Not yet." Kara's voice was steady despite the shock setting in. 50 more cubs. Get me a prosthetic mount. Something temporary. You can't be serious. I'm not leaving them in there. They jury-rigged a support frame, not a proper prosthetic, just enough to bear weight. Pumped her full of painkillers and coagulants. Kara stood up, tested the frame. It held. She walked back into the minefield. Trip 15. She lost 3 fingers to shrapnel from a mine that detonated 10 meters away. Trip 23. Concussive force from another blast left her half-deaf, blood running from her ears. Trip 31. She took shrapnel to the shoulder that lodged near her spine. The medics begged her to stop. Command ordered her to stand down. Kara ignored everyone. Threx was the last one, the oldest cub who'd kept the others calm for hours. He looked at Kara's destroyed body, the missing foot, the mangled hand, the blood-soaked fatigues. "You should have stopped," he said quietly. "You're dying for us." "Not dying, just hurting. There's a difference." Kara knelt carefully on her good knee. "Climb on, Threx. Let's get you home." The final trip nearly killed her. The painkillers were wearing off. Her vision kept tunneling. Twice she stumbled, caught herself inches from pressure plates. But she made it. When Kara handed Threx to his parents, her legs finally gave out. She collapsed in the red dirt, consciousness fading. The last thing she heard was Threx's voice. She came back 60 times. She lost her foot on trip 10. She still came back 50 more times. Kara woke up 3 days later in the hospital. The doctors had saved her life, but the damage was extensive. Missing foot, 3 fingers, permanent hearing loss in 1 ear, spinal injuries that would require months of therapy. Colonel Thrace was the first visitor. "The cubs are asking about you. All 60 of them. They want to know why you didn't stop after you were injured." Kara's answer was simple. Because stopping meant leaving kids in a minefield. That wasn't acceptable. You navigated that field 60 times. Lost body parts. Kept going. Thrace's mandibles clicked softly. "The cubs' families have declared you brood guardian. Our highest honor. Reserved for those who sacrifice everything to protect young. I just did what needed doing." "No, Lieutenant. You did what only a human would do." Thrace pulled up a holographic display. "We analyzed your route pattern. By trip 40, you were operating on muscle memory alone, too injured to think clearly. By trip 50, you shouldn't have been conscious. But you kept moving, kept calculating, kept bringing them out one by one." The door opened. 60 creche cubs crowded into the hallway outside, too many to fit in the room. Kessa, the first one Kara had carried, approached the bed. "You lost pieces of yourself for us?" the small cub said. "Why?" Kara looked at the 60 faces. 60 children who'd been terrified and alone, who'd watched her come back again and again despite her injuries. "Because you were worth it. Every single one of you." Threx stepped forward. "When we grow up, we're going to tell our young about the human who crossed the minefield 60 times. Who gave her body piece by piece so we could go home. Just tell them that when someone needs help, you help. Doesn't matter how hard it is." Kessa climbed carefully onto the bed, mindful of Kara's injuries. "You're the bravest person I know." Kara smiled through the pain. "You're all pretty brave too. You waited in that wreckage for hours and didn't panic." "We weren't brave," Kessa said. "We were just trying not to cry. You were brave. You kept coming back even when it hurt." Kara closed her eyes. Her body was broken. She'd lost parts of herself that would never grow back. The doctors said she'd never return to active duty. But 60 cubs were alive. 60 children had gone home to their families. And if someone asked her to do it again, walk that minefield, make those 60 trips, lose those pieces of herself, Kara knew she wouldn't hesitate. Because some things were worth any cost. And children were always worth everything.